Hi guys, Brandon here. Just a quick note before we jump into the second time lapse of the series. Recently I've just updated my Maya package from the 2017 version to the 2018 version, and as expected I have been receiving a few problems with some of the tools, especially those in the UV editor. Luckily, since my last upload I have managed to rectify those problems and figure out what's been going on, and from now on hopefully everything should be running smoothly. In this time lapse I am going to be using the current barrel variant, which is the one you are seeing on screen right now, and modifying the geometry to create the slightly damaged version, which you will see hopefully at the end of this video. So without any further ado, I hope you enjoy the time lapse and I'll see you in the next one. Hi guys, me again. Just a few updates before we finish this video. As I mentioned at the start, I had recently updated my Maya software from the 2017 to 2018 version. Since making this model, I actually had more problems than I have had good from updating. So at the end of the time lapse, from what you've seen, I actually uninstalled my Maya and reverted back to the 2017 version. Hence why you've not seen any UVing thus far. So what I'm going to quickly do for you is quickly just go over and show you my UV maps, just to show you what I've sort of done and sort of explain some of the processes I went through. So as you can see from the two models shown on the screen, the right one is the first barrel from the first time lapse, and this one on the left is the new version. And straight away you can see just on the first barrel that the UV map from the first time lapse, you can check that out if you want to go back and look, you don't have to, but anyway, it's been updated, and it looks a lot better than what it was, better laid out, and it's been optimized a lot better from what it used to be, more workable for, you know, if I want to apply proper textures to this. And same thing with this new one, though you're not seeing it, this is the final result. So the same sort of thing with some of the UV shells itself, they look very similar, as you can see, apart from obviously the ones with the broken pieces in. So one thing I want to just quickly point out to you is this new feature called the UV toolkit, and within this it's just basically like a quick access tab that's sort of refines all these small tabs up here and saves you from really, well, touching these tools really, just a quicker, better and more efficient way of accessing the necessary tools that you need to UV. So I'm just going to go over a few that I used to make, obviously, to get to this point where you can see now. So we have a transform, like the name suggests, this is the way you do your moving, you're rotating. So we have your pivot, so if we choose a UV shell, we can, and set the move tool, we can change the pivot point on the UV shell where we want to move from, and likewise you can change that to the UV area as well, just by changing this small box. So this was just good for quickly snapping to certain points of the model, but predominantly it was mainly in the center. But so you see that these gaps here, this was used, these small gaps are evenly distributed, though you may not be able to tell, they are, and this was done by using the move tool. And literally all this does, if I focus in on this UV shell, you can see if I click any of these little arrows, the UV shell will move in the by the number set in this little box here. So we have a load of prefabs. We have 1, 0.1 and 0.01, and 0.01 is the one that I'm currently using. We also have the rotation tool, so very self-explanatory. It rotates the UV around a certain amount of degrees depending on what the units are in here, and of course you have your presets. Scale, as you expect, you can scale UV up or down, I believe. This tool here called textile density, which is one key feature that I really want to talk about, because it's helped me out quite considerably for both of these UV maps, if I'm honest. So what the textile density basically means, it refers to the pixels or the resolution of the face. So if I show you an example to clear it, make it a little bit clearer, if we click on this little icon here, this enables a like a checkerboard sort of prefab texture. Though it's not applied, it just shows you the textile density. And if you see, as you can see from the actual model itself, if I zoom in here a little bit better, you can see that each component or each shell has its own textile density. And in previous versions of Maya, to achieve this would have been very difficult, especially when trying to put textures onto your models, because your things have like the resolution of the texture may be stretched in areas, it may be pinched in areas, or it just simply won't be clear enough. And with this actual textile density tool, we can set the set or receive a textile density and apply it to all the others in your UV editor. So for example, if we take this shell here and we scale it up just for this example, and we press get, if you look at the value here, he says okay, why this isn't working I do not know. For some reason it's not working. Or usually what would happen is you press get, and depending on the size of the actual UV shell will also determine the size that it's of the textile density. So if you click on, say this is the one you want the rest of your UVs to be the same textile density, you click the one you want, press get, it will tell you the value, and from here you can select your other UVs, let's say these were the ones in question, and press set. It will too set the textile density and match it to the one that you've received. So if this would have worked, say it was 32, had a textile density of 32, and we wanted these to change also to 32 textile density, if we press set, I have no idea why this is not working as it should. Bear with me, let's check if this is the reason. Huh, strange. Anyway, it would usually, oh that's why the map size was too small. So let me say that again. So if we'll take this tool here and we press get, it will give you a value. So there you go. So it has a value of 29.6, etc. If we wanted the rest of these UV shells to be the same textile density as this one here, we obviously click on the one that we want to set, get, receives our value, and then select the ones that we want to also match the textile density of, and then press set. And as you can see, it will also adjust the textile density to match the ones or the value that you've already predetermined. So if I just reset that back, another tool that I want to quickly go over is under the tab unfold, and under this tab is all the tools necessary for unfolding your UVs. So you have the unfold tool, which was introduced in previous versions of the software. Same with the optimize tool, the unfold tool, and the optimize tool. We have these two new tools here called straighten UVs and straighten UV shell. So like the name suggests, you can use a straighten UV shell to straighten up the individual UV points. So like this one here, we wanted to set these two, and we could press that and they'd line up. Fortunately it's already straight, so I won't show you. And same thing with the UV shell. So if we were to take this UV here, UV shell, and then press straighten UV shell, okay, let's do it this way, it will straighten the shell to whatever it feels applicable. So throughout this I obviously used a range of the straighten UV shell and the straighten UVs to create these the board shells, as you can see here. Another tool is obviously the align tool. I suppose it's very self-explanatory. You can align UVs to certain parts of the UV editor. So if we use the snap tool, it will snap to the corresponding points here. And finally, if we look at the arrange and layout tool, very similar to the align and snap, but this does it for the whole workspace. And one of the tools I used was layout, and what this does, providing this, it's not always necessary, but what you can do is you press the layout tool, it will reset the workspace and organize all your UVs accordingly and it will fit it to the most optimal positions and size. And obviously, unless you've obviously set the textile density. If not, you could just have all UVs random sizes and press layout if they're obviously bigger than the 0 to 1 space, and it will adjust all the textile densities and the layout to fit the 0 to 1 space. And that's it really. Not much more. Some of the textile density options, especially in the actual tool, was a little bit of trial and error at first to find the right size to fit all the components in, but once obviously figured it out, which in this case was 15.5, it was simple enough to do. And same thing here, same sort of tool was used. I believe there's a similar textile density, 0.8 out. And yeah, so that's all. So I hope you enjoyed the time lapse. Hope this clarified a few things just about the UVs. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry if I've gone on a little bit too longer than you would have liked. But anyway, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.